Thompson Productions.
No way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump. I am your host, Jose Galison. It's a beautiful May 13th, Tuesday morning. I'm seeing some in the chat already. I'm seeing a question already. I see Dana McLaughlin says, what is the name of the book on OKC by, I think it's a woman that was the author? Well, probably the most well-known one that was written by a woman. I mean, there's actually a few. I mean, there's the Jana Davis book, which really goes into the Middle Eastern connections. I never finished it because I got like a third of the way in. Frankly, it's fucking kind of trash. But, I mean, and frankly, it's all kind of like, I don't know. I find the Middle Eastern angle to be super glowy. But either way, the other woman would be Wendy Painting. You're probably thinking Wendy Painting, Aberration in the Heartland of the Real. Although there is another one that was just dropped by Kathy Sanders. I can't remember, Shadows of Conspiracy or something like that. I don't remember. She's the one who lost her grandchildren in the Oklahoma City bombing, and yeah, so she just dropped a book. So I need to get her on sometime soon. But yeah, you're probably thinking of the Wendy Painting book. That's a great book, Aberration in the Heartland of the Real. All right, well, I see some of the regular in here. As you guys can see here, look, we got the Rumble chat is up and working today. So I don't have to manually go look over at that. So that's great. So StreamYard has its shit together today. All right, let's, Aberration in the Heartland of the Real, The Secret Lives of Timothy McVeigh. It's a book by Wendy Painting. Yep, that's the book I was referring to. All right, let's take a moment while we wait for more people to roll in and pay the bills a little bit. I'll remind you guys about our friends over at Nado Shave Co. and let you know how this single blade safety razor is superior to the multi-blade cartridges in every which way. It gives you a smoother shave. It's better for your skin. You're dragging one blade across your face as opposed to many. It is a lot better on your wallet. It's $75 for the first year. Compare that to the multi-blades. It's got to be at least $30 for a multi-pack, which you go through multiple of those in a year. So, I mean, it's cheaper just from the jump, and that's not even taking into account you're going to get an extra 10% off if you use Jose at checkout at NadoShaveCo.com. And then, this is a COVID mandate refusing company. So if all of that wasn't enough, this is a company that doesn't hate your guts, too. So it's a superior product, company that doesn't hate you. It supports this show. Don't know what you're waiting for. NadoShaveCo.com. Use Jose at checkout. All right, let's see who all has popped in. Jeff Anderson, shave your coin purse, Sloppy Toppy, Tyler. I guess he's shaving with one right now. I got bug fights up here. Good morning, everyone. Good day, King David. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Eddie Grimm. Good morning, Cellular Cobra. That's a new name. I don't recognize that. Sloppy Toppy. Good morning. Good morning, Subliminal Messenger. Good morning, Marty McFly. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you guys. Today will probably be another episode. It's probably not too incredibly long. Yeah. Someone says, didn't the bad guys not get the jab too? I don't know. I guess it depends on what bad guys you're referring to. Crap. I was in the middle of a thought and I totally just dropped it. I will let you guys know, hey, no, tomorrow, that being Wednesday, no morning dump. I'll be picking up a shift that day. You guys still aren't paying me enough to not pick up work occasionally. So we'll get there. But I don't mind it. I kind of like my job a little bit. Kind of like working my hands every now and then. But yeah, I won't be here tomorrow. So I'll be back with you guys on Thursday and then Friday as well. So, but tomorrow, alas, I shall not be here. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and take a moment. Let's go ahead and get through some content. Sorry, I'm a little tired this morning. Oh, I remember what I was going to tell you guys. I'm a little loopy still. I was just letting you guys know this is probably going to be. I know the last few episodes have probably been around an hour and a half or shorter, whereas lately these episodes, when these first started, they were like a little bit over an hour, then they've creeped up to about 2, and that's kind of where they stayed. So I feel like I'm apologizing for going down to like 1.5. But yeah, that's where it's going to be right now. I do have little kitties that I'm tube feeding right now, so I'm tired. I'm waking up every other hour, not sleeping through the night. So yeah, so these are going to be a little bit shorter for right now, for the next couple of days, and then they'll pick back up in length. But let's go ahead and get into some of the topics for today. Give me a second. Let me hunt it down. Because the stupid layout of StreamYard. That's not even the one I wanted. Okay. This is the one I wanted. Hamas releases U.S. Israeli citizen Idon Alexander after talks with the U.S. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, about this being something that was getting ready to happen. Well, it has happened. So let's cover that together. See if maybe it goes in a little bit more details about any specifics about what this means for relations. So let's go ahead and read this. On Monday, so yesterday, Hamas captured or released Idon Alexander, a 21-year-old New Jersey-born IDF soldier who was captured during the October 7th Hamas-led attack on Israel. He was handed over to the Red Cross, which transferred him to the Israeli military. He was freed as a result of U.S. engagement with Hamas that didn't involve Israel. According to a report from Axios, President Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, negotiated with Hamas chief negotiator Khalil al-Hayya through a mediator. The U.S. made clear to Hamas that the release of Alexander for free ahead of President Trump's visit to the Middle East would go a long way with the U.S. administration. Which, I mean, this could be... If true, this could have been one of the biggest clinch plays of all time, essentially, which we will get into in a bit. The Al-Qassam brigades have just released the Israeli soldier holding American citizenship, Idon Alexander, following communications with the U.S. administration, Hamas said in a statement. This comes as part of the mediators' efforts to reach a ceasefire, open the border crossings, and allow the entry of aid and relief for our people in the Gaza Strip. Trump announced that Alexander would be released in a post on Sunday and said he hoped that it would be the first of those final steps necessary to end this brutal conflict. That is an interesting way to phrase this, to end this brutal conflict, considering one party, which we will get into, doesn't seem to want to end it, at least not anytime soon. Israel refused to implement a ceasefire for the release of Alexander and only agreed to a brief pause to create a safe corridor. So we couldn't even get Israel to do a ceasefire in order to assist us for this. So I think once again, they're showing themselves to be the belligerent actors here. I think this is them kind of being pissy, to be honest, because we've covered this in the past, the whole ongoing saga of the Idon Alexander stuff, and this was where we started having direct talks with Hamas, and Israel was not happy. It actually just so happened to coincide, make of this what you will, right around the times that we were having direct, once they found out about the direct conversations with Hamas, they started bombing around the areas that just so happened to be the last known locations of Idon Alexander. Seemingly, one could presume that maybe they were trying to get rid of that leverage that Hamas would have. So I don't know. So it's just then you see them here, like also not even willing to give a ceasefire in order to help. They don't seem happy with this. So Netanyahu also said on Monday that he would send a negotiation team to Qatar on Tuesday, but vowed the talks would continue under fire and that Israel would continue preparing for a major escalation of its genocidal war. Israel's plans to expand the assault on Gaza involve destroying every remaining building, concentrating the civilian population in a tiny part of southern Gaza, and pressuring them to leave as part of an ethnic cleansing campaign. We are in the midst of critical days in which Hamas has been presented with a deal that would enable the release of our hostages. The negotiations will continue under fire during preparations for an intensification of the fighting. Netanyahu said that he spoke with Witkoff about the possibility of implementing a framework for the release of these hostages before the expansion of fighting. Gaza remains under a total Israeli blockade, which was implemented more than 70 days ago, pushing the civilian population into starvation. I think that's really all we probably need to cover for this particularly. All right. Well, I think, I don't know. I mean, as I'm kind of alluding to, we're going to get some other stories that seem like maybe this Edon move may have been one of the smartest plays for them right now. So, all right, let's scroll through the chat, see what you guys have to say right now. So, people are talking about Sam. I don't know what you and Sam Tripoli are the kings of Rabbit Trail. Oh, thank you. I guess. Nadeau, Shavka, Racine, Raccoon City. It's all there. Yeah, that was I don't even know what you guys are arguing about Sam Tripoli in the chat. And I don't even see what you guys are arguing about. Oh, it's not because there was just so much disinformation out there, and I feel like Sam adds to it instead of cleaning up sometimes. I don't know. We can only do our best. I know, trust me, I straddle both worlds. I know the worlds of the hoity-toity, stuffy researcher and the worlds of the entertainment conspiracies like the Alex Jones. Like, there's credence to both worlds, and I don't know. I think you kind of got to build I know a lot of the research types out there like, oh, you need to make sure everything you say is always, 100% correct. It's like, well, for one, that's just not a reasonable way to behave. Like, I don't know, that's no one really interacts with the world in that way. You say, you try your best, and later you go, oh shit, I got that wrong, and that's really the best you can do. I mean, obviously, some people are better at it than others, but I mean, who the fuck is going to Sam Tripoli for, I don't know, an in-depth parapolitical analysis on something? Don't get me wrong, he does actually a good job of that, in my opinion. I've seen him, talk about some shit. I'm like, oh shit, surprisingly know way more than I thought you did. I'm just saying that's like, I don't know. I guess it seems like a non-problem. I feel like anyone who's interacting with a Sam Tripoli understands what you're dealing with. Not every bit of information coming out of him is going to be sourced, nor should you really assume it to be. I don't know. It just seems like a non-issue. All right, let's, so yeah, there we go. To be honest, I'm not watching Sam for the facts. Boom. See, there you go. Yeah, it's you're having fun. I mean, you hear some stuff and you go, oh shit, that's interesting, but you go double check it. So you don't just take everything at face value. All right, let's keep it moving on the old war front. So, all right, now we're on. Let's keep moving on these like what's going on with Gaza and the like. And so now here we have Netanyahu saying the ethnic cleansing of Gaza is inevitable. So today is the 13th, actually. So right now is when Trump is supposed to be in Riyadh, I believe. Which is, I think, in Saudi Arabia. So he should be over in the Middle East now and doing some sort of tour. But it's really very much becoming crunch time, as you're going to be able to see from some of these stories. So Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Sunday that the forced removal of Palestinians from Gaza was inevitable. Interesting how this language is that's being used when there seems to be a push for change, that if anything becoming more resolute. So we're destroying more and more homes, and Gazans have nowhere to return to. The only inevitable outcome will be the wish of Gazans to emigrate outside of the Gaza Strip, Netanyahu said at the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, according to the Jerusalem Post. Israeli officials have made clear that the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian population of Gaza is their ultimate goal. But it remains unclear where the Palestinians would go. Netanyahu told the committee that the main problem preventing immigration is the lack of countries willing to take in the Palestinians. Israel has maintained a total blockade on Gaza since March 2nd and has developed plans to start bringing in aid using private U.S. security contractors to use food to lure starving Palestinians into a tiny part of southern Gaza. Netanyahu said that the aid would be conditional on that the Palestinians not returning to where they came from. Netanyahu also said Israel is currently not planning to establish Jewish settlements in Gaza at the moment because President Trump is interested in having the U.S. take over the territory, which I found that particularly interesting when I heard that news, that they aren't planning on moving settlements in. I am very doubtful, but we will see. Limor Son Har Malek, an Israeli MK and member of the Jewish Power Party, suggested American Jews could move to Gaza. Bring the Jews from the United States. This way we'll hit two birds with one stone, he said, which, I mean, I don't know. That would be quite perverse if instead of that, like, oh, no, this isn't going to be for Israel. Instead, we'll make it exclusively for American Jews. So we're just making like an American Israel, I guess. So exclusively for American Jews. I mean, I don't know. It'd be bizarre. I do find it interesting, though, that they're claiming they're not planning on taking over because Trump taking over, which then kind of, I'm not gonna lie, puts a little bit of a dark thought in my mind. Obviously, whenever you see all these sorts of moves on the world stage, a conspiracy mind always has to consider that maybe this is all just a ruse. This is all just to make us, give us some cope, make us, give us some, white hats, black hats, gray hats, gives us something to cheer for. Is that what's going on here? Because I can kind of almost imagine the play already. If the idea is not to have Jewish settlements move in, it's that they will take over. I mean, I guess I don't know exactly. I guess I say I see it, but I don't know exactly what the move would, like the specifics. But the idea being is, we get them to back off, and because I mean, maybe they really just haven't been able to find anywhere for any country that's agreed to take on any Palestinians. Because what the fuck do they do with these people? So do they then pull some sort of fucking Syria move where they go, we're going to take over a buffer zone, and they take over a huge portion of it, and another portion they end up giving some small Palestinian state or something. I don't know. My point being is I could see there being some sort of, I don't know, I guess small W, I guess, to be had. I guess the idea being is that like a massive amount of Gaza gets taken. Maybe some small state is left or something. I don't know. I'm just imagining different ways in my head this could play out. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm not super. I don't know. There's a lot moving right now, and it seems like there's this hopeful force. We'll see how well that plays out. More on this on the kind of how we're in crunch time. This broke like literally right before the show, so I had to find, this is on ENet News. I forget who, if I can remember who posted this, I'd share their name, but I can't recall. So it's Netanyahu. We will enter Gaza with full force in coming days to complete Hamas subjugation. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with soldiers wounded during the war and told them, eliminating Hamas and freeing all our hostages, these work together. This is how we're doing it. All right, so now he's pairing them as opposed to, maybe they're trying to change their wording because in the past they were just recently essentially dropped the hostage altogether and just being like Hamas elimination the priority. He added, in the coming days, we will enter with full force to complete the operation to defeat Hamas. Our forces are there now. Hamas might say, okay, we want to release 10 more. There will be no situation where we stop the war. Netanyahu noted the decision was passed to allocate approximately 4 billion shekels in assistance for reserve soldiers, their families, and their partners. All right, that's all there is on that. But the key point that I think is interesting here is coming days. So we got to think the way this was framed before. I know they've already got the plans already, put together. They're already calling up the reservists. And they were talking about doing this after Trump left. Now they're talking about within days. So this could be during the time that he is there, that the stormtroopers march in and pew, 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 and level everything. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. Trying to be hopeful. All right, let's roll through the chat. See what everyone's got to say. All right. Says my main beef is saying H is a Rothschild every freaking episode. It carries no weight, and I think takes away credibility from those repeating it. Maybe. I know Austin has some interesting takes on Hitler. I forget what it is though. Just scrolling through the chat. It's not misinformation if you're time traveling and changing the timeline. Yeah. All right. All right. I just think there are some tinfoil that carry weight and others that don't at all. We can do better. Yeah, I mean, I try to do my best, but I try to have fun with it. I think that's the balance we try to strike. So, all right. Scrolling through. Jose is reserving more water. I'm saving all the water, brother. All right, let's get into, let's see what other stories we got. Oh, here's the guy who it was. My bad. It's Dominic Trippi, which good follow. He always seems to have this sorts of information. He's the one who had that scoop that the net had just dropped that. So, all right, let me see. And then let's watch this video. I thought this was, actually, let me make sure. All right, never mind. I have to, stupid fucking StreamYard. All right, give me a second. I will bring this back up. Here, stupid. Here we go. All right. Now, here we go. I wanted to watch this because I think this kind of gets, this little clip here gets at what I've been kind of talking about the past couple of days and where we're at in the narrative game, I guess you could say, I don't know, so far as like us anti-Zionist types, I think maybe, just maybe something's happening here. Maybe the nothing ever happens streak is coming to a short end. Obviously, it will come back, but I think this really speaks to that. So let's go ahead and watch this, which, by the way, this is Tucker Carlson. Dave Smith went back on recently. It was a pretty good episode. Let's watch this.
Mark Levin, who I also know. I mean, I've been in right-wing world my whole life. I know everybody. I work with Mark. Always gotten along with Mark. Always been nice to me. But yeah, he just accused the Trump administration of anti-Semitism for calling someone a neocon. What he did was he accused Steve Witkoff of anti-Semitism. Right. And I just want to say, I think Steve Witkoff is, if there's anyone who is, has the hand of God on him, it seemed to me, I sort of overstated, but I feel that way. It's Witkoff, who's like a thoroughly decent man, and who was running around the world trying to bring peace.
And also, by the way,
nations.
Who single-handedly saved 20 Jewish hostages.
Well, exactly.
I mean, I don't know if they were all Jewish. I think most of them were. I think almost all of them were. But I think they got 20 hostages released in the phase one of the ceasefire that he worked out. Then Israel violated the ceasefire, and so they didn't get the other hostages back, although thankfully the American was just released. But this guy, Witkoff, has actually done more to help those hostages.
So here's what he said. I actually wrote this down because I was really bothered by it. This is Levin on Twitter, Mark Levin, who works at Fox, which is like basically seems to have turned his programming over to advocating for a war with Iran. Neocon is a pejorative for Jew. Unbelievable. And this is in response to Witkoff saying, quote, the neocon element believes that war is the only way to solve things. So you have Mark Levin calling Steve Witkoff an anti-Semite.
Right. And again,
we've reached peak crate. I mean, I think Witkoff is Jewish, right?
Again, but it's, I don't even know. But again, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
He's American, and he's on the side of peace, and so I'm for that guy. But the crazy thing. So I also, I at one point in the debate with Douglas Murray, where I said something about the neoconservatives, and he went, the N-word, making a play on the N-word or whatever. And it's interesting. I mean, Douglas Murray wrote the book called Neoconservatism: Why We Need It. It was his book. And so what happened was, for people
I mean, this is kind of a great masterclass on J Games. So yeah, let's keep going, keep playing this.
Don't know a lot about this. This was their term. The neoconservative was not a pejorative term until the neoconservatives got control of our foreign policy and ruined everything. Yeah. And then it became a term that we'll call every war hawk. We'll be like, another neocon. Now a lot of times we will use the term when, strictly speaking, this person may not have been a self-identified neoconservative. It's just become a pejorative for someone trying to get us into stupid war. But the neoconservatives themselves, the original, this was their name.
Oh, I know.
For themselves.
I was there.
And you were there. You worked alongside them.
I worked for that. I worked for Bill Kristol for 5.5 years. I was a neocon.
Yes, it wasn't and they had no
Episcopalian neocon.
But look, they had no problem using the term until everybody started to hate them. And then they went, you can't call us this. But it's like, no, you guys, like, this was your own term that you used for yourself. You can read their own documents in the Project for a New American Century. You read the Clean Break memo. They laid out what they wanted their foreign policy to be. I mean, literally, right, wasn't it, oh God, I can't remember whose quote it was. I know that a bunch of them loved sharing it. But what is it? That every 10 years, we got to throw a small, puny little country up against the wall and show them who's boss. This was their foreign policy. We need multiple theaters of war in the Middle East in order to ensure the new century is an American century.
So immoral and disgusting.
Yes. And also that, and look, as anybody can read, I think we talked about this last time I was on, but anybody can read for themselves the Clean Break memo. It was written by Richard Pearl and David Wormser to Benjamin Netanyahu. That was like, look, here is our plan.
I mean, that's all we're going to play of that. I find it particularly interesting that, I mean, we did talk about yesterday. I believe it was yesterday we talked about Levin. I thought it was interesting because this is the key of what this little clip is about. Is the Mark Levin, who's some talking head. I forget who he works for or what. But anyways, he's kind of been around for a long period of time. But he's been one of Trump's main guys, and he's been freaking out recently. He was the one who posted some dumb shit they mentioned in here. Something, quote tweeting, I believe it was the video we actually played yesterday, of Witkoff kind of saying, potentially, slapping down the neocon instinct. And then, Mark Levin posts something like, oh, neocon is like another term for Jew or something like that. Exactly. Essentially implying, oh, he's being anti-Semitic by bringing up neocon. And it's like, it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of a perfect example of why we're at where we're at, assuming we're at where we're at. And by that, I mean possibly a very major paradigm shift. I mean, we've been feeling it for a while now with the people on the ground level, but it just feels like it's inevitably working its way up the pole. And while I've had my issues with this administration, and I do think it's super gay when everyone goes, oh, the most transparent administration ever, I will say they're probably the most receptive that I'm aware of. I think they're the most in touch with social media and stuff like that. So I don't know, they're actually being some sort of real responses to a tidal wave turn of that goes against what they thought it would be against. I don't know how I'm trying to say this. I'm trying to say the idea of essentially this tidal wave of opposition to Israel. I mean, we've never had this in the past, but I think people just didn't really pay attention to this topic like that before. But people have just kind of naturally, over time, between the last 20 years of these ironically, inextricably linked to Israel wars, they've gone very, very, very sick of war. I think most people just didn't pick up on that thread, the connective tissue between those wars and Israel. And so now it's coming back full circle, and Israel's saying, hey, let's do these wars. And they're going, whoa, 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 we're over this shit. And they're like, whoa, now now we're at the big game. And that's where Israel's at. And I think the people are just like, we're not having it. So I don't know. We're at an interesting time. As I was kind of getting at, I don't know. I think it's reached such a level that it's unable to be ignored by any legitimate political actor. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess you could get super jaded and say, let's say Trump is completely and utterly owned by the Jays, like utterly owned. To some extent, they've got to think long term and like, do they want to completely burn this GOP card that they have in their hands? Because if they overplay their hand here, I mean, at a certain point, my point being is the political backlash becomes so strong that you got to do something, even if the entire game board is rigged against you. There just comes a certain point to where it becomes so obvious they got to give something. Does that mean we don't get war with Iran? I don't know. Does that mean we go full? I mean, the level of things that are being floated out there, I have a hard. I'm starting to think maybe, just maybe, we might have an administration who thinks they might be some real boys as opposed to puppets on strings. Well, I don't know. We'll find out. It seems like puppets that are trying to rip off their strings right now. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is a super calibrated, for top level deception theater. I don't know. It's hard to say, but either way, when you have the Levins of the world behaving in this way, it just kind of shows perhaps why, even on another level, even just from a social, like, hey, if you're going to act like this, and like, as I've ranted before, I mean, I don't know, to some extent Trump might just be kind of a retarded boomer. So like, and I don't know, you talk to any of your boomer, like even the greatest people who are like even really anti-war now, a lot of them are very, very pro-Israel just because they have that boomer mind virus. But I don't know. I mean, even Trump, I think, very much values respect. And when you have this entity that's disrespecting you at every fucking turn to a ridiculous degree, at a certain point you go, hey, fuck you. And I think he might be at that fuck you. So I don't know. We'll see. Let's roll through the chat, see what you guys have to say. Scrolling. My mom likes Levin. My mom has dementia and won't stop watching Fox. I'm sorry, that checks out. Dave sounds 50% more Jewish when his speaking sped up, as the kvetching really comes out at that point. All right, let's go. All right, on to the next story. Looks like the tariffs are dying off. So, which frankly I didn't even really know they were. I'm only covering this because actually my wife was trying to get like Shein or something the other day. Like, shit, it's so expensive. So, hey, for all the ladies out there, all your cheap Chinese goods might be coming back down. So, let's go through this real quick. China and the U.S. have agreed to remove most tariffs imposed since April 2nd, a breakthrough following high-stakes talks that could help resolve a trade war that had raised import duties to unprecedented levels. The two countries made the announcement in a joint statement on Monday. The agreement lowers the U.S. Additional tariff rates on Chinese goods to 30% and Chinese duties on U.S. imports to 10% on top of some retaliatory levies imposed earlier on selected American goods. We have substantially moved down the tariff levels. Neither side wants a decoupling. Well, hey, that's good. I'm happy about it. I'm glad. While I was being silly, I do want to, about the whole, that actually is a pretty good example I just gave, the Shein thing. That literally was a real life example, because me and we're getting ready to go. Me and the family getting ready to go on a cruise here in a few months. So that was the Shein thing. As they were looking, we've been low on clothes. It's like every time we go, like once a year or so, go out on some sort of vacation, it's like, oh, gotta update the wardrobe. And so the girls were just gonna get some cheap stuff, and we get some nice stuff. And so they were gonna get some Shein stuff, and then they're like, which is, for those who are unaware, it's like a online goods. Girls like it. I don't know. It's a cheapo clothes, China. And they're looking like, crap, they're expensive. And they're like, well, I guess we'll just end up having to just go to the mall. And so we're going to spend way more. So the point being is, it's like there's a real world example right there of these tariffs are going to end up making me spend a fuckload more when I could have got something cheaper. So I don't know. For me, that means a lot. That would save me a lot of money if Shein was just not fucking expensive right now. So I don't know. Just trying to show a real world example of why tariffs are fucking retarded. So Marty McFly says, I think they were willing to throw Bibi under the bus, but for the bigger takeover is all. Perhaps. I don't know. It does feel like Netanyahu does not make it through this one, but we'll see. I'm unsure. I'm very, very unsure of how all this plays out. I mean, we're at a weird crunch time, but I think things will be very, very clear in the next couple days. So expect. I'm kind of bummed that I won't be here tomorrow, because I have a feeling there's going to be some fucking big news tomorrow. But we'll see. So, Tucker Walsh interview had a part where they say fuck people who think we have no souls and are slaves. Direct shit at the Talmud. Haven't seen anyone cover it. Oh, okay. I don't know what to say about that. All right, let's get into the. I wanted to talk a little bit today about the mind control aspect of the Dutroux affair stuff. I just thought it'd be interesting to show this. This is from the homie Tim Tuttle at Jolly on Klebold. It says this is excerpts going into Anne and Efch, who were two of the people who were abducted by Dutroux, and going into the claims that perhaps they were hypnotized. So Anne and her girlfriend, Yves Lambrix, who was also murdered by Dutroux, had attended a Rostelli hypnosis show. Dutroux had also hypnotized a girl he raped in 94, and an item marked hypnosis equipment was seized from the house. Let's go ahead and read these. It says, these trauma-invoked dissociative states are similar to the ones which can be induced in certain people through hypnosis. The personality shuts off, and they fall under the control of the hypnotist, who invokes this state through relaxation, which demonstrates quite often on stage before an audience that the minds of people in dissociative states can be controlled. For instance, in the hours before they were kidnapped by Marc Dutroux, both Anne Marshall and Yves Lambrix had been hypnotized on stage during the performance of a hypnotist, Ambrasti Rostelli. On the evening of the kidnapping, Anne and her girlfriend, Yves Lambrix, who was also murdered by Dutroux, had attended a Rostelli hypnosis show in Blankenberg on the coast in August 1995. Father Marshall initially insisted on Rostelli coming as a witness because he thought that the girls were still lured by Dutroux under the influence of hypnosis. All right, on to the next excerpt. Now, the X dossier states Dutroux hypnotized a girl he raped in 94. An item marked hypnosis equipment was seized from the house where he kept Anne Marshall and Yves Lambrix for 2 weeks prior to the murder. When Sabine Dardenne and Letitia Delhez were rescued from the basement of this house, they had been conditioned to believe Dutroux was their protector. The Belgian investigating judge who ordered Marc Dutroux's arrest in August 96 described yesterday how 2 young girls hid from their rescuers and embraced their torturer when they were freed. When Dutroux escorted police to the specially built cellar where Sabine and Letitia were held, they didn't want to come out and tried to hide from the rescuers, Conrad said. They thanked Dutroux. It was absolutely terrible. They kissed him. That shows how much he had conditioned him, or them, he said. Dutroux's accomplice, Michel Olivier, had explained to investigators Dutroux said he conditioned girls to be docile and submissive for clients, and that he saw Anne and Yves naked. Dutroux said that they couldn't escape. He also said one of the 2 cleaning the tiles. Afterwards, he said that the people who ordered them came to see the girls, but they were not interested in them. So yeah, he had them doing, housework. Is where he was at. I also think it's worthwhile mentioning. Of the X dossier girls, one of them claimed that her pimp also was what's the word I'm looking for? Was encouraging such traumatic, like DID type stuff, dissociative identity disorder. Essentially the idea of different egos developing within oneself. And she claimed, X1, Regina Loof, that her pimp was essentially grooming these sorts of behaviors, essentially trying to make that more so be the case, to where she had multiple alters. So, between that, you have the girls who got hypnotized before they got abducted. Then you also have Dutroux having hypnosis equipment. There very clearly was some sort of mind control element going on here. So, all right, let's check in the chat. Hey, wow, what perfect little timing. I'm literally about to cover this, Richard. So yeah, there we go. Richard's talking about a Bronco circling the MFB, the Murrah Federal Building. That is quite literally the next one right here. Boom. See, next one I was covering. I did see recently. I hadn't had a chance to email you. Message you back, Richard. I've been super fucking busy. I got brand new kitties. I've been having to wake up every couple hours and feed. But I did see your thing. I just hadn't had a chance to go through it. And then I realized what it was about. I was like, oh, well, I'll just read Ken's article on the show. That way we can make it content and cover it. So I'm not entirely sure what the angle here is. I know I vaguely recall a Ford Bronco being part of the narrative when it comes to the research stuff for Oklahoma City bombing. So I believe it was one of McVeigh's purported vehicles or something. So let's go ahead and get into that. So it says, no worries, it's all good. Thank you for covering this. I think it's super sus. Yeah, I always like covering Oklahoma City bombing stuff for sure. So let's go ahead and get into this. It says, special report, the Oklahoma City bombing, sting operation on the Ford Bronco. All right. So the following report is reprinted with the permission of Oklahoma City bombing researcher Richard Booth, is what it says. So this is from Booth, but it's on Headline USA. An otherwise obscure FBI 302 report recently sourced from records in the 2004 Terry Nichols state trial adds an interesting dimension to the theory that the April 19th, 1995 Oklahoma City bombing may have been a sting gone awry. The memo, which describes a Ford Bronco just driving slowly around the Murrah Federal Building at 2:30 a.m. between 2 to 3 times, 15 miles per hour, seems innocuous enough. However, that is only if you're not familiar with the notion that the Oklahoma City bombing may have been connected to a sting operation, one in which a team of FBI and ATF agents were out all night expecting the delivery of a bomb in the middle of the night. The theory is not a new one. For years, critics and investigators have pointed out glaring contradictions in the investigation, including specific warnings given to the federal government by informants prior to the bombing. The most well-known of these informants is Carol Howe, whose reporting to the ATF was specific and detailed, with Howe telling Diane Sawyer at ABC News, "I gave them warnings of targets, specific targets, addresses of targets, and names of targets." Informants reporting on matters related to the bombing are not exclusive to Howe. Reports from at least 2 others seemingly confirm her information that a group of white supremacists based out of Elohim City, including a gang of bank robbers and a German national named Andreas Strassmeyer, were plotting to blow up the Murrah Federal Building and had even cased the building with one of their informants. Strassmeyer may hold the key to unlocking the mystery concerning the failed sting operation. Andreas Strassmeyer, when interviewed by Andros Evans Pritchard for his 1997 book, The Secret Life of Bill Clinton, revealed what can only be said to be insider knowledge of the bombing operation. Indeed, knowledge of a sting operation that was underway. Strassmeyer's disclosure jibes with what ATF official Lester Martz told reporter J.D. Cash, that his own ATF agents were not at the Murrah building in the morning because they had been out on an all-night surveillance operation. A sting operation? The below excerpt from page 90 lays out the scenario. So this is from The Secret Life of Bill Clinton, Pritchard's book, of which I'm still I'm damn near done with. I'm in all the Foster stuff, which is interesting. So it says, according to your source, that's correct. The bomb was never meant to explode. They were going to arrest McVeigh at the site with the bomb in hand, but he didn't come at the right time. Maybe he changed the time. You never know with people who are so unreliable. What time were they expecting the truck, I asked. I have heard that it was the middle of the night, between 2 and 3 in the morning. The truck had a transmitter so they could track it with a radio receiving device. In this passage, we have Andreas Strassmeyer stating that, according to a source, a sting operation was underway, expecting a bomb delivery between 2 and 3 in the morning. This is where our recently discovered 302 report comes into the story. It concerns a Ford Bronco that approached the purported FBI and ATF surveillance site during that time, when agents would have been on high alert for any activity at the bombing site. Here's the FBI report. In question. I can't really make it out too well due to the resolution on this, but you guys can go check it out on your own. All right. The Bronco would have lit up Fed comm chatter when the Sting team when it rolled up at 15 miles per hour. So the exact moment when the bomb is expected, a Ford Bronco approaches. It is driving 15 miles per hour, very slowly. Yeah, take a moment to think about 15 miles per hour. Now this is a downtown road. I would assume, I'm kind of making some assumptions here to kind of get an idea. So this is going to be, I would guess, somewhere in the realm of 35 or 25 to 40 miles an hour would be my guess of these roads that they're traversing, because they're saying so these are roads by the courthouse. So I would assume downtown, was that usually 25 to 35, something like that. So going 10 to 20, 30 under the limit, significant. All right, the Bronco circles the building 2 to 3 times, according to roofers working across the street atop the courthouse. So circles multiple times. Weird, at a very, very low speed in the middle of the night. This is highly irregular, and the vehicle would have been under intense scrutiny as it passed through the area, because there's a surveillance op going on at this time. Any surveillance team operating there would have taken immediate notice of the approaching Bronco, made notes concerning the vehicle, And it's also highly likely that there would be radio chatter among the sting operation team about the vehicle's slow movement into the area, including its parking for a moment, shining its lights at the Murrah building. The waiting agents would have been very concerned. With this in mind, let's take a look at what Roger Charles had to say to Headline USA editor Ken Silva on February 9th, 2022, in his last interview before succumbing to a heart attack just over a week later. In his wide-ranging interview, Charles tells Silva about the Aryan Republican Army, purported by J.D. Cash and David Paul Hamer to have been McVeigh's ground crew in OKC for the bombing. Charles describes how ARA members Richard Guthrie and Peter Langan utilized top-quality scanners and frequency countermeasures devices to, for example, tune to FBI and law enforcement frequencies before, during, and after their crimes, and also, 2, use a scanner to detect any nearby FM transmitter device of the type used for vehicle tracking devices in 95. All right, so here is it's an excerpt from the interview. So this is Roger Charles. Just got back through some notes. Just found a thing that I just forgotten it. I got like 43 of these notebooks, but Stephen Jones told somebody that Tim told him that he knew. Tim knew that Danny Coulson, the FBI, was inside the building waiting on him that night. I don't have a clear picture of what happened, all right? Which, by the way, Danny Coulson, who ends up being the head investigator of the FBI there, he was in Oklahoma City when the bombing happened. Most people don't realize. I don't know if I've covered that on the show. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. I believe it was a credit card receipt. They have been able to prove it, and he's lied multiple times and given different excuses of what he was doing. I mean, what I kind of seem to think is he likely was part of some sort of PatCon type operation, and then, was probably part of the sting. Things went tits up, and then he ended up being, the guy who was part of the sting, heading up the sting, ends up being the guy having to, go over the fucking, be the investigator for the Oklahoma City bombing. So that way he kind of can clean up the mess that they fucked up. So that's what I would assume. So, why did I go into that? Danny Coulson. Oh yeah. Point being is he was there. So it would line up with that. He was likely with that group of people who were doing the overnight, surveillance. The reason why none of the ATF was in the building despite being the purported target. So, all right, there are 2 trucks. There's a transponder that the bad guys knew it was going to be found. The Aryan Republican Army guys were pretty damn sophisticated technically. They got a Bearcat scanner and could listen to FBI, state police, and local police radio traffic, so they could also find if you had a device transmitting electric energy. Okay, kind of radio waves. I mean, it's kind of interesting that they did have those capabilities, because it makes you wonder, did they at this point in time realize, like, oh shit, they're listening in on us? I don't know. So, all right, let's keep moving. It says, find below the full audio, the interview with Roger Charles, starting with a story in which Roger describes J.D. Cash's off-the-record interview with Tim McVeigh. Cash's first question to McVeigh was, how'd you get past all that surveillance that was out there that night? Cash says McVeigh just rocked his chair back, crossed his arms, and put on a big shit-eating grin like, wouldn't you like to know? Well, we now may understand how McVeigh knew, because the security team went through the area and likely found chatter on specific frequencies in use. Meanwhile, the ARA was said to have had a list of FBI and ATF frequencies. From where? I don't know. And they discovered the Sting's operations communications channel, recognized the area was under surveillance, and had even by that time already found a tracking device that was to be put on the Ryder truck, which the bad guys had other plans for. Put it on a decoy truck and send that on off to Fort Smith or elsewhere. Assume this Bronco is entering the scene of the sting operation, slowly pulling in at 15 miles per hour the exact moment of the delivery of the bomb is supposed to occur between 2 and 3 a.m. Streets are vacant in the middle of the night on a weekday. Nobody is out there. What if the person inside that Bronco circling the Murrah building is operating a Bearcat scanner or any number of other excellent frequency scanners available at that time to hobbyists? I've had a few myself, and is either scanning local frequencies for traffic to identify the sting operations frequency or is already tuned to the sting operations channel. Well, they would know immediately that they had entered surveillance. and would leave after making their circle around the building 2 to 3 times. And so maybe that's how Tim knew that Danny Coulson and the FBI were waiting on him that night. Was it because Richard Guthrie or someone else on McVeigh's 419 on-the-ground security team confirmed it using a frequency scanner? Richard Guthrie of the Aryan Republican Army just so happened to own a Ford Bronco per this January 3rd, 1996 FBI memo from Omaha to Director FBI. Okay, so it was Guthrie that had a Bronco. I swore I remember someone had a Bronco. So, all right, maybe it was because the last book before Pritchard I read was In Bad Company. So maybe I'm recalling the ARA stuff. So, but anyways. For more information on the FBI's failed sting operation, see kennethtrendy.com, or you can go to libertarianinstitute.org/OKC and visit at Blowback Book on X to see the upcoming book from Margaret Roberts, which that's one I'm going to have to read soon. I need everyone to chill with the books so I can make it through all of them. Seems as soon as I'm damn near done with the curriculum, another one pops up. All right, let's go up to the chat, see what you guys had to say. You're thinking the brown pickup, which Colburn had. Maybe. Okay, there you go. That makes sense. I don't know. All right, scrolling through. And then I think the ARA knew the feds would be there at night and confirmed it and decided to show at 9 to send the op sideways to ensure a cover-up. Yeah, this kind of tracks to me. So, yep, he was the boss dog on this op, and he's furious Strassmeyer fucked it and sent it sideways, which is why he always talks about Strassmeyer. Yep. He got his motel receipt, checked in right after midnight. There you go. That's what it was. So, yep, I was rambling about Danny Coulson. Yep, the motel receipt. That's how we know he was there, but he lied. He's lied multiple times. I forget. I think he had some sort of fucking meeting. He was a bunch of other people. They supposedly. I think it was a Waco anniversary thing or something. He was supposed to go, and then he got ratted out by people saying, "No, you didn't fucking go." So, all right, scrolling through. Regular would be 30 to 40 miles an hour. Okay, so you're talking about downtown. Okay, because I was trying to imagine what the speed would be through there. So 15 is, really 15 anywhere is super, unless you're like on a residential road, that's incredibly suspect to be doing 15 miles an hour. So, all right. Yeah, and Coulson is told like 3 different lies about where he was. Yeah, I knew it was at least 2, but yeah, I swear he said he went to a Waco thing, so. All right, let's see. What else do we got? Let's do one more. What do I want to watch? All right, here's one that's been on here for a while. It's a little bit longer. Let's see. I have no idea what this is. This is from Rage Child. It says, the most disturbing CIA experiment you've never heard of. So I have no idea. This could be complete trash. We'll figure this out together. Let's see what this is.
What's the CIA's most disturbing experiment?
They had a experiment that they did in Canada, and I am never so many times people are like, "Oh, well, you must know all about this MK Ultra project and names and dates and locations." I'm not a historian. I don't give a shit about 99% of MK Ultra. I care about the techniques and the methods and the protocols and stuff that were a result of MK Ultra. I'm not like, let me go fact check and get everybody's name right and dates. I don't have any of that because it was never important to me. But they did this thing in Canada, and I can't remember the guy's name, but they took people coming in for just normal appointments, like I have postpartum depression or I have anxiety, and they would against their will do this thing called psychic driving. Had nothing to do with being psychic. It just meant psychic of the mind. And they would give them massive, prolonged doses of LSD. And in some cases, tape their eyes open like Clockwork Orange and play these videos in front of their face all the time. They thought it was going to like reprogram their brain somehow. But what happened was a lot of the people had to learn how to walk again. They couldn't control their bladder. They had to learn how to control their urine and stuff like that again. Some of them lost 30, 40 years of memories from their life. And these were people who checked into a clinic for like anxiety. And this was funded by MK Ultra, and it was in Canada. And it's so well known and it's so open that even the Canadian government paid.
I think this is a psychopath machine thing that Austin might talk about occasionally. So I don't know, maybe I'll have to bring this up to him again later. Let's keep going.
The people's families who just got wrecked because of this thing. And the other thing they did, and there's so much mind warfare stuff that we could go into, but they did this thing called Project Midnight Climax in a brothel. And these Johns would come in, like, they're like, well, I'm going to spend the night with this hooker. The hookers take them to a hotel room. They drug these dudes with high doses of LSD. And there are mirrors in these hotel rooms with the dudes watching. Like behind a mirror in the hotel room. There's scientists watching this stuff and watching what takes place. That is the most bizarre and weird thing I've ever even heard of. They can experiment with LSD on a lot of people. But they did it with soldiers and
I gotta say, if this is like your most disturbing CIA experiment, that's pretty lame. I feel like, I could probably think of some other ones. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to, I don't know, I always forget what fucking numbers it is. Like, what was that Japanese camp where they did the awful stuff that we then essentially paperclipped those guys? Like, so, those were basically de facto CIA experiments by extension. We've definitely done more fucked up stuff. So this is, honestly, this is kind of weak. But let's keep going.
Our British Army did this with LSD, and LSD was just like the rave of the.
Don't get me wrong. Operation Midnight Climax is pretty fucked up. The one where we, essentially, the CIA literally just, paid off hookers to essentially lace their johns and to experiment, to observe what happens. And I don't know. They probably did a million different things with these people, but yeah, that's pretty fucked up. Can you imagine? I don't know. For one, already being in, I don't know. I guess the kind of person who pays for sex is usually kind of a fucking scummy person anyways, but like, I don't know. You're already in a weird, dark situation, I would assume, if you're getting a prostitute, and now you throw LSD into the mix. Oh my God. Unknowingly receiving a trip on LSD and also being in an incredibly degenerate environment, I don't know. That's a nightmare fuel. Let's keep playing.
The time, because the CIA thought it might be this miracle mind control drug because these videos were coming back from the Korean War of these Americans getting brainwashed and stuff. So they're like, there is something happening to these Americans that we don't have the technology to do. So it was a psychological arms race, or so we thought it was. It was just basic stuff. It was like very basic brainwashing stuff.
What were the results of that midnight?
Nobody knows.
No,
nobody knows. I think it was just studying the effects of LSD and the effects of what they call interrogative suggestibility. So, can I make you confess to stuff? Can I get intelligence out of you if you're a captured asset of some kind? And I don't think they published anything afterwards, like some after-action report or anything.
All right. Well, let's look through the chat, see what you guys say. That is Dr. Ewan Cameron at a hospital in Canada. Exactly. Boom. Richard's correct on that. Yep, Dr. Cameron. Jacob backed that up. Unit 731. That's what I was thinking of earlier. I do have a thread so that I've been meaning to one of these days we'd cover Unit 731. But speaking of untold horrors, much like Unit 731, look at this haunting smile. This is the last story we'll cover today. I thought this was kind of interesting. This is from someone named 11 who follows me. It says, reminder that almost every popular streaming influencer is a product of the same shady agency, which promptly hit its quote-unquote talent roster when noticers uncovered it as another perception management tool using the illusion of independent media to overwrite reality. So here's a Reddit post. So it says, did you know that Asmongold and Mr. Beast belong to the same talent agency and that they are both directly connected to Disney and Amazon? It says, today I learned that a company named Night Media literally manages basically every single Zoomer e-celebrity, including Hassan Piker, Nicolole, who the fuck that is, Dream, and these guys. If you ever look at the YouTube trending tab, at least one of Night's talents will be up there. Night Media is just a subsidiary, as Night Incorporated itself is valued in the hundreds of millions of dollars from venture capitalists and angel investors. Who owns Night? The CEO of Night Media is Reed Duscher, who worked formerly for NFL and then went on to be Dude Perfect's manager. The president of Night Incorporated is Ezra Cooperstein, who was previously the president of Fullscreen and Rooster Teeth, as well as Maker Studios, which is now a part of the Disney Digital Network. Note, Disney acquired Maker in 2014, but did not merge them until 2017. Ironically, neither of these guys are the real talent managers, as that position is for their 90-plus employees, including Andrew Pelosi, a former higher-up at Influential. What is Influential, you ask? Influential is an AI social data and conversion technology, as well as developer partner of IBM Watson and a Facebook marketing partner, utilizing a network of over 1 million social media influencers as a tactic for distribution. Influential runs both native and paid campaigns on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and YouTube for Fortune 500 brands. Influential is owned by Jeremy Steinberg. Knight Incorporated is directly owned by the Chernin Group, aka TCG, one of its executive members being Alexander Moore, a former executive from Amazon who focused on mergers and acquisitions. However, TCG itself is financed by Providence Equity, an ESG-compliant private equity investment firm valued at over $30 million. Actually, no, I got that wrong. $30 billion. All of this information is freely available. I literally just ran names off LinkedIn and read business articles. So the point being is these people are all owned, which, I mean, we've covered this a lot. These influencers, I mean, it's nothing surprising. I mean, we covered like the 764 stuff or like that soda welfare story a while ago where all the fucking influencers immediately, are coming out, clearly falling on one side of what ends up being an advertising campaign. I mean, what can you call advertising campaigns that are in fact perception management? A lot. All right, so let's roll through the chat and let's get on out of here. So yep, I knew I didn't want my kids to watch these tards for a reason. All right. Okay, well, let's get out of here. This is a really short episode, but like I said, I got shit I gotta do. I'm tired. Sorry, guys. We'll be back. Try not to let anything important happen tomorrow because I won't be here tomorrow, but I will be back on Thursday. So yeah, Northside says we need to arrest all the influencers until we figure out what's going on. 100%. But in the meantime, if you do want to hang out with influencers who are not bought out, at least not too much yet, we've been bought out, I believe. I think the current conspiracy is that we're bought out by General Flynn. Yeah, that guy. That's who we're bought out by, apparently. We're part of a Florida Illuminati. So we have right here, boom, toplobster.com. You can meet up with us over at Bohemian Grove on June 20th and June 21st. You need to get on it while tickets are still available. It's not going to be much longer. As soon as Owen and Sam really start pushing this out to their audiences, this is game over. But like I said, June 20th and 21st in Leesburg in the, I believe, Tropic Theater, I think, or something is the name of it. Either way, a theater in Leesburg, Florida. You can find out the specifics. It's like an hour out of Orlando. We essentially got a whole little strip that we're shutting down. So everything's going to be walking distance. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a blast. We got Owen Benjamin headlining one night, Sam the other. We got Shane Cashman emceeing both days. We'll have Tower Gang fun, Nephilim Death Squad. We're going to conspiracy stuff. I mean, there's a bunch of unannounced people that I'm really looking forward to build. Like once we get solid confirmations from people, I can start announcing some of the other names out there. But yeah, you guys definitely got to get on it. And to do that, you got to go to toplobster.com. While you're there, you can also pick up some Already Dead / No Way Jose / underclass merch. And so from here you go, like I say, go to toplobster.com, and then you just go to the brands and go to Already Dead. You can get the Already Dead stuff. You can get our Operation Gladio, No Way Jose, Yiki shirts, Trend Do shirts, all of the like. But all right, yeah. Let me see. So you have something to talk about. Oh, okay. All right, let's go ahead and get out of here. I do want to remind you guys, if you guys want to support what I'm doing over here, you can, and you don't want to chip in any bucks, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. All of those things are free, cost you absolutely nothing. But if you do want to help out the show in the best way that you possibly can, you're going to have to use some money to do that. But at the low level of $2, that's the lowest level at patreon.com. So there's No Way Jose 2020. I think most people can afford that. If you can't, I don't know, get a job, I guess. Jeez, get it together. But if you can't, don't, though. All right. But if you can, $2 is the lowest level. That's where you get access to early episodes. I just did another Hoppa live reading last night with Toad. We're getting ready to do start a Dutroux series on Thursday with Austin. I mean, I got like 4 things behind the paywall right now, and putting out like 2 a week these days. So you're getting quite the value. You also get an ad-free RSS feed there, and you also get priority for the call-ins on me and Austin's weekly call-in show, live call-in show, Already Dead, which is on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, which that's today, guys. So make sure to pop in there tonight. Come hang out with me and Austin. We'll have a blast. Come call into the show. Also, the highest level of my Patreon is my sponsors. I read them off every episode. It's a big thank you to them. That's my co-host on Tower Gang at Tower Gang Toad. Also at Abrogate D's at ZOVRECK at _Fazil. Tim Tuttle at John Klebold. Will Bells. Delicious Blueberry Rabbit I1. Big fan of the show. Tori Maitland at INWARD Lover. Also don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Tower Gang Jose. That helps out too. And with that, you can tag me and stuff. And that way I bring up on the show, because that's what most of the show is these days. It's just stuff that you guys wanted me to cover. So all right, just pop into the chat. So no crazy shit can happen until Thursday. Everyone's saying bye everyone, bye. Everyone's saying bye. All right, deuces everyone, bye.